The morning after the night before. I've woken up, it's Sunday morning, and we're here to discuss Joshua versus Takam and the undercard. Let me start by saying thank you to everyone who's viewed the post-fight reviews for the Helenius Dillian White fight and the Anthony Joshua versus Takam fight. It's about 8:30 where I am, and between the two of them it's cropped up something like 8,000 views overnight, so massively appreciate everyone who's taken the time to check out the instant reactions to those two fights and support the channel in all the other ways. Let me say, having slept on this, my opinion it hasn't changed. I've still got the same opinions I did last night, but if anything they've actually hardened. It was nice waking up today. I had a lot of comments. A few of the comments were accusing me of being an Anthony Joshua fanboy, which is nice to mix it up a bit, because I don't think there's been too many long-time viewers who've been watching this channel for 3 or 4 years who will accuse me of being an Anthony Joshua fanboy. Realistically, most of the stick I've got on this channel is actually for being the opposite of being an Anthony Joshua fanboy and being accused of being an Anthony Joshua hater. So, it's nice to get it from both sides. And yeah, this morning people were saying that I was actually being too charitable to AJ in my post-fight opinion. It seems the weight of opinion within the boxing public has changed somewhat since the days when he was running through opposition like a knife through butter. But yeah, having reflected on it, having rewatched certainly the final round again, my suspicion was that the stoppage was premature when I recorded the instant reaction video last night. I'm now totally certain it was immature. Joshua was looking to close, he was throwing big bombs, but if you actually watch it back, very few of those big bombs were landing. Takam was defending himself intelligently and was throwing back. He was wobbled, let's have it right, he was hurt, he was wobbled, but he was coming on strong. He'd been coming on strong in the fight continuously. He was still defensively aware, and he was looking to engage Anthony Joshua and start picking rounds off against him and start landing punches against Anthony Joshua. I do think the stoppage was immature. Now look, the doctor pulled the referee and pulled Takam to one side, I don't know, round 8, round 9, and the doctor had a long word with the referee. So whether the doctor said we can let this continue for another round, but if he's taking punches to the eye we're going to have to stop the fight, whether the doctor said something like that, I don't know. And the truth is, I doubt many people out there do know the content of that conversation, because it wasn't audible as far as I could make out. But unless the referee had some specific orders from the doctor to jump in if there were head punches landing from Joshua, I really do think this was a premature stoppage and a bad decision. I don't know if it was that the referee I don't know if it was that the referee was maybe nervous about Takam sustaining an injury on such a big fight night, or sustaining, career-threatening damage, and we have seen that in the sport of boxing. But for me, the referee looked kind of eager to stop this fight on several occasions. Maybe he thought it was one-sided, maybe he thought Takam's injury was pretty grotesque with the cuts, I don't know. But in the 4th round, he seemed to be asking Takam if he wanted to continue. He seemed to be speaking to Takam's corner. There were several times in the fight you could see him having a close look at Takam, just looking at his well-being and potentially wanting to jump in. I kind of felt he was slightly trigger happy tonight. Whether that was because of words the doctors had with him, whether it was because of protectionism of the fighter, I don't know. A lot of people in the boxing community screaming corruption. I'm never one to come on my channel and make claims like that when personally I haven't seen any evidence of it. But it was an inadequate stoppage, and it just kind of left a bad taste in the mouth with that fight. You kind of feel that was a fight that could have played out very, very differently under different circumstances. Joshua taking a bad headbutt in round 2, Takam suffering a bad cut in round 4, Takam suffering a second cut later on in the fight, Takam being stopped very, very, very prematurely. It kind of makes you think we didn't actually see a true reflection of if these two guys got in the ring and fought properly last night. And for me, that's disappointing, frustrating, etc. Joshua, for me, he did win every round. He was well ahead in the fight. He was probably on course to winning an easy unanimous decision, maybe winning every round. But having slept on it, I agree with commenters on my video who said to an extent that's beside the point. Takam, for me, he was looking to drag Joshua into deep water. He was looking to take him late in this fight. He was looking to test his stamina and his punch resistance in the championship rounds. And he was robbed of the opportunity to do that. Takam came in the lightest he'd been for 10 years. He turned up in tremendous shape. He still had an engine in there. And Joshua, for me, his stamina was sapping as the fight continued. So Takam and the fans were robbed of the opportunity to see how the fight would have developed in rounds 10, 11 and 12. As the cliche goes, this is heavyweight boxing. Anything could have happened. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Takam was about to land a devastating haymaker that would have knocked AJ completely unconscious, because Takam didn't really wobble AJ at any point in the first 10 rounds. But I would say that it's an open question how Anthony Joshua would have responded in those last couple of rounds if Takam really decided to gamble and Takam really decided to think, right, there's 3 rounds left here. This is my last chance. Maybe some of the snap's gone from AJ's work. Maybe he's looking a bit tired. Let's throw caution to the wind and let's really push the pace. So disappointing, unsatisfactory conclusion to the card. It's not Anthony Joshua's fault necessarily. It's not Carlos Takam's fault. It is what it is. Several things in that fight changed the way of the fight going, and it's unfortunate. It ends up leaving a boxing fan disappointed and kind of asking what may have been. But a definite disappointing stoppage in my opinion. And having slept on it, having reviewed some of the comments, I do agree that we can't simply say, oh yeah, AJ was dominating the fight, because that's kind of beside the point. You have 12 rounds to win a fight, and Takam was still in there trying to win it for my money. He was still defending himself. AJ was coming on and throwing lots of punches, but they were missing. So, poor stoppage. Enough said about that. I was very disappointed with this card in general. Sky Sports, Matchroom, however you want to describe it, just the card itself, for me it was a poor showing last night, in my humble opinion. And it's come at a bad time for them to have a poor showing, because it's come at a time where they've just raised the pay-per-view price to 20 quid a go. It's come at a time when there's more competition than ever in the market. We've got the World Boxing Super Series, really a great tournament on ITV. We've got David Hay launching some free boxing on Dave. We've got, most importantly, Frank Warren, Box Nation, BT Sports, signing some real big name fighters, the Gale, Frampton, Selby, and putting that on as competition alongside international fights like Lomachenko, Rigondeaux. If we are to say that Team Sky Sports Boxing dropped the ball last night, it wasn't a well-timed dropping of the ball. It came at a time when there's more competition than ever, and some of that competition is appearing increasingly formidable, certainly on the World Boxing Super Series side and certainly on the BT Sports side, as far as I'm concerned. Let me tell you about exactly why I think they've dropped the ball. Now, if you went to a restaurant and the restaurant had a deal whereby you could order a 5-course meal for 20 quid. Let's say you got a little starter, let's say you got, I don't know, a fish course, a meat course, a dessert and a cheese board as a finale. Let's say that was the deal in hand for your 20 quid. And let's say at the end of the meal they said, oh sorry, we've ran out of starters and we've ran out of desserts tonight. If you said to them, oh, but I've paid 20 quid for 5 courses, their reply couldn't be, I understand that, but really, let's be honest, you've come for the main course. I appreciate Eddie Hearn's point that a lot of casual boxing fans bought tickets to this event and bought pay-per-views to this event purely to see Anthony Joshua and to watch Anthony Joshua win a fight by knockout. I appreciate that is what the casual fan wants to see, and they probably got no interest in sitting through an undercard. Having said that, there are genuine hardcore boxing punters like myself who are really disappointed we didn't get to see several of the fights listed on the bill. Really disappointed. David Allen, he has become a huge figure amongst the boxing hardcore, who really have tracked his progress, seen him training for this fight and wanted to see him progress. Now, I've seen some rumours on Twitter that Dave Allen apparently picked up some sort of injury, and maybe that would have been a factor in whether he could have fought or not. I don't know. I haven't spoken to Dave. I don't know the answer. But what I would say is, regardless of whether he was injured or not, it just didn't appear there was any time left for him to get on. Likewise, Joe Cordina, who I understand did fight, but Joe Cordina actually wasn't televised. This is the #1 prospect in Wales fighting in the Welsh National Stadium, and his fight wasn't televised because instead Sky Sports had more interest in building up the Anthony Joshua fight and talking up that Anthony Joshua fight 20-25 minutes in advance of the actually beginning, because they know that that's what the casual market wants. They know that people are more interested in hearing the commentators talk about how great Anthony Joshua is, as opposed to actually seeing one of the top prospects in UK boxing, if not world boxing, in the ring. Very disappointing. Joe Cordina will feel very disappointed that his fight wasn't shown. I was very disappointed. I got home early, set on my laptop at 5 o'clock and wanted to see Lawrence Okoli and Joshua Buatsi, two Olympians, on the Sky Sports live stream on their Facebook page. I was sat there at 5 o'clock refreshing the page desperately, trying to get the stream up and running. I sat there for a good 15 minutes like an absolute fool, pressing refresh, trying to find this stream, trying to go on different Facebook pages, different Sky Sports Twitter pages, trying to find a link to this stream. No, the stream wasn't happening due to technical difficulties. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure this is the first time the stream hasn't happened because of technical difficulties. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. So of the bill that's been published, the bill that's been put out there, did we get to see Buatsi? Did we get to see Okoli? Did we get to see Cordina? Did we get to see Allen? The answer is no to all four. Very disappointing. Sky Sports, I also believe, could have been a lot quicker to let us know that undercard wasn't being streamed on Sky Sports Live. Rather than having people sitting there like morons refreshing the screen for 20 minutes, they must have realised that it was supposed to be broadcast at 5. It isn't being broadcast at 5:01. A simple message on the Facebook page saying, apologies, we're having technical difficulties, would have sufficed. Instead, just having people sitting there waiting and hoping, and completely wasting people's time. Very disappointing. If you pay 20 quid to see the bill, you deserve to see the bill, and to have 4 of the fights not shown, for me, is very questionable. I'm not suggesting, I don't know what I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting necessarily they should be offering refunds. Clearly these were, the sort of the starter portion of the bill. These weren't the main fights. These weren't the world title fights. I don't know what I am suggesting. What I'm saying is it leaves a bad taste in the mouth, and to have those 4 prospects not shown will be disappointing to the prospects, disappointing to the fans for me, and it's a bit of a letdown. It really is. In terms of the fights we did see, how many fights did we see? We saw Katie Taylor, Kaliafai, Helenius, Bullioni and Joshua. So we saw 5 fights for our 20 quid. For me, 2 of those 5 fights completely dominated by the late notice theme of the opponent. Having slept on it, I'm going to come out there and say this, and I think that this may be controversial, this may get people laughing at me in the comment section, but I'm going to go with it because it's my honest opinion, having slept on it. Genuinely, I believe Robert Helenius and Craig Richards would have defeated Dillian White and Frank Bullioni had they not been brought in at late notice. In both of those fights, it was clear that the opponent, the one who'd been brought in at late notice, had the superior skill set. That Craig Richards fight, I think two of the judges gave Craig Richards 3 rounds. One of the judges had it a lot closer. One of them had it 116, 113. Richards was landing some real solid work on Frank Buglioni. He really was. And what we saw in that fight was a very fit, very strong, bigger man in Frank Buglioni, using his size and fitness to kind of bully a more skilled, lighter, less fit guy in Craig Richards. You know, Craig Richards has no business being at light heavyweight. I saw him weigh in for this fight at 12 stone 5. You know, for me, the guy could easily be making 12 stone, and he'd be a far, far, far more effective fighter at that super middleweight weight class. You know, we saw him take a lot of unnecessary punishment in there against a bigger, stronger guy, but he still managed to run Buglioni quite close. You know, if Craig Richards had had 2 or 3 more fights, if he'd had more fights at area title level, maybe a fight at English title level, and if he'd had 8 weeks to prepare for Frank Buglioni, I honestly believe he could have pulled off the upset. It was just too late notice, and you could see him tired really from rounds 3 or 4 onwards. He had some good fitness there to keep battling on and keep throwing punches, but really the middle rounds of this fight were just Buglioni because of Richards' fatigue. Funnily enough, when Buglioni started to tire in the championship rounds, Richards started to come on again in the fight and pick up rounds again, because I believe when you took that stamina question out of the equation, Richards was clearly the better fighter, with clearly the better skill set. A disappointing and unsatisfactory fight for me. And as I say, that's a fight that was largely dominated by the feat of Craig Richards getting such late notice for this fight. Similar to Robert Helenius, actually. You know, Helenius really looked like he'd have Dillian Whyte in a hell of a lot of trouble after round 2. He was catching Dillian Whyte with by far the better work. You know, I think he probably did wobble Dillian Whyte on several occasions, and Helenius to me appeared to be the guy with the better timing, the better skill set, the better technique, the better accuracy. Unfortunately, the gas tank absolutely emptied, which is going to happen if you're a 6'7", 18 stone bloke. The gas tank is going to empty like that if you haven't had a training camp, and sure enough, that's exactly what it did. In both occasions, Helenius' skill set, Craig Richards' skill set, did that let the big punching home fighters get a knockout? No, because both of them had the smarts, both of them had the skills in there to survive, and Buglioni and Whyte couldn't find a variety. They didn't do anything different. It was the same approach throughout the course of the fight, and they kind of laboured to easy points wins. You know, they couldn't pull the trigger to get their opponents out of there, despite the fact they were able to land bombs on big occasions. So disappointing stuff. Of the 5 fights we were able to see, 2 of them for me, the main thing I'll think back when I look at those fights is how late notice the opponents were brought in. And you know, the commentary was appalling. I said this in my video last night, but Sky Sports commentary team sitting there absolutely scratching their heads trying to work out what's wrong with Robert Helenius. They've called him Tyson Fury. They said he looks like a Tyson Fury at his peak against Vladimir Klitschko when he was giving Dillian Whyte work in round 2. You know, they were really singing his praises then when he was landing punches, but they changed that completely a round or 2 later and were saying he was too old, he's an aspiring partner mentality, maybe he's got an injury. You know, they neglected to think when they were going through all the reasons Robert Helenius may not be performing so well, they neglected to think it was anything to do with the notice. And the Sky Sports commentary team, you know, really was poor tonight, with a few exceptions. You know, I'm going to give some credit here to Matthew Macklin. Matthew Macklin, never someone I've overly enjoyed watching as a fighter. He made some really valid points last night. Yeah, he called AJ flat, which was very, very brave of him. He actually said that a lot of the undercard fights had failed to catch fire. You know, there hadn't been any knockouts. Macklin was kind of saying it as he saw it last night, and you could see as soon as he was doing it, the team of AJ fanboys and the commentary, Johnny Nelson, Tony Bellew, completely, immediately jumping to the defence of Anthony Joshua, and asking Matthew Macklin, interrogating him, you know, what more could AJ have done in there? You know, really, really sort of jumping to the defence of Anthony Joshua. But fair play to Matthew Macklin. He brought some sort of sensible commentary, and he actually said the things, you know, the boxing fan was thinking. I mean, during that AJ fight, AJ, to me, to everyone on Twitter, to everyone in my comment section, looked like he was a tired guy. He looked heavy. He did look flat. he looked like he was, trying to preserve his failing stamina for me, looking like he was trying to avoid gassing out completely. Maybe he's learned from that Klitschko fight. Maybe he knows that makes him vulnerable. And it looked to me like he was desperately trying not to punch himself out and desperately trying to, hang in there stamina-wise. But the commentary team are simply praising the guy's fitness. I was sitting here with my missus. It was embarrassing. She's never watched boxing before. I wasn't even spewing. I wasn't even putting ideas in her head. She was there saying, "Oh, he looks really tired to me." Are the commentators watching a different fight? It's bizarre to watch. And on occasions, some of this is opinions. Sometimes the pundits are actually saying just flat wrong things. Tony Bellew making out that Joshua was due to be in against this 6'7" monster, Kubrat Pulev. Kubrat Pulev has never been 6'7". Kubrat Pulev, I saw the Vladimir Klitschko fight. Wasn't Kubrat Pulev substantially shorter than Vladimir Klitschko? They're just inaccurate comments that Kubrat Pulev is 6'7". When the presenter asked the team, how would Takam have fared maybe if Takam had an 8-week camp specifically training for Anthony Joshua, they were all sort of smiling and saying, well, you could say the same. If Anthony Joshua had 8 weeks sparring to prepare for the shorter guy, he'd have stopped Carlos Takam very much earlier. They were quick to put down any question mark, be it from the presenter or be it from Matthew Macklin, quick to put down any question mark as to what Anthony Joshua's performance in there was like. I saw Barry Hearn afterwards saying he would have pulled Carlos Takam out earlier on in the fight. So clearly he's not against a stoppage. He'd have liked to have seen the fight stopped even earlier. Let's not forget this is the same Barry Hearn who at one point said there's no heavyweight in the planet who could go 3 rounds with Anthony Joshua. So just what I'm getting at here is, for me, the commentary, substandard, biased, failing to mention things like Hellenius's late notice, failing to question AJ's stamina when it appeared to be lagging. 4 of the fights not shown. 2 of the fights that we did see completely dominated by the fact that 2 of the opponents were late notice and seemed to have run out of gas after the first couple of rounds. What are you left with? You're left with Kalia Fai, you're left with Katie Taylor. Fair play to Katie Taylor. Congratulations to her winning her world title. What I will say, for me, she fought a fight reminiscent of amateur boxing. I'm just angling the screen because I can see the sun is in the way here. But I don't know if you guys noticed this. From the first round, Katie Taylor would run forward and she would instantly throw combinations. Left hook, right hook, left hook, right hook. And literally she would plant her feet stationary. Plant roots with her feet. Stand completely square on. Chin up in the air, and she would just wing away, left, right, left, right, left, right. I don't know the other fighters in her weight division. I don't know how deep the depths of quality are in that weight division in women's boxing. But what I will say is, if a fighter adopted that approach in the men's game, I honestly think they would be knocked out, because somebody would find the timing to take a step back, create some space and catch them clean whilst they're punching like a windmill with their chin up in the air, feet planted, standing completely square on. For me, it was very haphazard, it was very defensively inept, and if she continues to fight like that, and if the level of opposition continues to improve, there will come a time where she is either going to have a world-class chin, or she's going to get knocked out, because very, very, very throwing caution to the wind and very limited defensive awareness. For me, it still looked like she was fighting a bit of an amateur style, but you can't do that in the professional game, for my money. Kalia Fai, he said it wasn't his best performance in there. He said he looked a bit flat. I saw some comments from him in the lead-up that he didn't think he could fight again before Christmas because of what the training camp took out of him. So I don't know if he's potentially overtrained. I don't know if he's having to take a lot out of himself to cut weight. But he said he looked flat. Katie Taylor was quite critical of her performance in there. Even the fights that we did see that were genuine fights, the home fighters weren't too impressed with the performance that they were putting in. You know, so all in all, and then there were more bizarre things. So you paid 20 quid to see the fight night. Do we get to see the Dillian Whyte ring walk? No. Do we get to see a Dillian Whyte post-fight interview? No. You know, it appeared to me that there was an advert break during the time that Dillian Whyte was ring walking. So we paid £20 to watch this fight, but yet we're still subjected to adverts, even if it's at the detriment of seeing the ring walks of the fighters. You know, Dillian Whyte's ring walk is highly entertaining if you haven't seen him before. You know, it's usually one of the real reasons to check out a Dillian Whyte fight. We didn't get to see that. We didn't get to see that. Instead, having already paid 20 quid, we watched an advert break. And then after the advert break, they showed both guys in the ring. You know, very, very disappointing. Did we see a post-fight interview? No. I assumed we didn't get a post-fight interview with Dillian Whyte because they wanted to get Cordina or David Allen on, and they wanted to show another fight before the main event. I was wrong. We didn't get a post-fight interview with Dillian Whyte, so that we could, you know, well, maybe they wanted to get Cordina in the ring. I don't know, but they could have interviewed Dillian Whyte backstage, and you know, maybe had 5 minutes of Whyte and only 20 minutes of talking about how great Anthony Joshua was before the fight ahead with Anthony Joshua. You know, really, really, really disappointing for me. Just to reiterate, you have 4 fights not shown. You have 2 of the fights that are shown dominated by late notice. You have Yafai and Katie Taylor, both of whom say it wasn't their best performances after the fight. You have awful, biased commentary. And then you have an Anthony Joshua fight with a very, very, very late notice opponent with a very, very early stoppage. You know, just an unsatisfactory night of boxing. Yeah, the live stream thing annoys me. The live stream on Facebook thing annoys me. You know, that they'd sort of given boxing fans the impression they'd be able to tune in. You know, I got home early to be home at 5 o'clock so I could watch those fights. I was sitting there for 20 minutes refreshing like a moron. Just felt annoyed about that. Leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth. People will comment, and they will comment saying, "More fool you, BG, you're an idiot for paying the 20 quid. Maybe I am. Maybe that's something that I will have to review going forward as to whether I want to continue to send my hard-earned the way of the Sky Sports pay-per-view. But what I will say is, as a boxing fan who genuinely loves boxing and, you know, gets excited for the big fight nights, I don't want to sit here trying to find it. I haven't illegally streamed boxing really in the past. I've always paid my money if I've wanted to watch the fights. If I've not been that bothered, I've maybe watched them a few days later. I don't want to sit here with the fighters in the ring. You know, I see people on Twitter, has anyone got any link? I'm missing it. Can anyone send me a link? You know, I don't want to be scrabbling around for a link trying to find the fights, and you get some choppy stream where you only see every other punch landing, and then you get, you know, you're trying to watch the fight and then Viagra ads are popping up left, right and centre. You know, for me, that's just not how I want to enjoy my boxing. You know, I genuinely enjoy boxing. I want to sit down, I want to sit back, I want to watch it and enjoy it without pop-ups, without a stream going down, without bad quality. You know, for me, streaming has always been a slightly unsatisfactory response. But yeah, whether I want to continue ploughing my money into these products, you know, it seems, I don't know if they've got complacent because they're at the top. You know, I don't know if they keep selling pay-per-views with Anthony Joshua, that they can realise that they can still do huge numbers even if it is a late notice opponent without promotion for that opponent. I don't know, but it just means for me that you know, the quality of the show is being watered down, and I do think rather than seeing a bill of boxing, we are just seeing an Anthony Joshua love-in now, and for me, very, very disappointing. Anyway, ranted now for the best part of half an hour. Hopefully my opinion has been put across to you guys. Hopefully I've made all the points that I've wanted to make. You know, I'm gonna have a look at my Sky bill, and maybe I'll do a video later in the week going through my Sky bill with you guys, and we can have a talk about whether or not it represents value for money. Because do you know what hurts me? It's not the 20 quid that I sell out last night. It's the money that I put into Sky on a monthly basis. Because let me tell you, that's more painful than the 20 quid. But maybe what I'll do is pull up some of my Sky statements and we can talk through them in a separate video. And yeah, we can see if there's any opportunity for BG to save a pound or two at some point. But there you go, guys. Let me think if I've got anything else to say. No, it's there we are. Morning after, early stoppage, disappointing performance from White, disappointing performance from Buglioni. Unfortunately, a few of the main fighters fell flat. Commentary was poor. Some of the more interesting prospects didn't get shown. Rant over. Leave your comments in the section below. Please let me know your thoughts on any of the topics that I've raised in this video. If you've enjoyed what I've put here, please take the time to hit the thumbs up button. If you're new, you haven't done so before, do take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel. Give me a follow on Twitter @BoxingGossip. Thanks for watching my coverage as always, people. Cheers.